like how important would you say, regardless of your faith background, like how important would you say it is to have a commitment or develop that spiritual foundation?
That it's impossible for an individual to be healthy 100% if they're not aspiring to be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Some people come into the doctor's office and they want to be physically healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's your mental? How's your mental doing?
Yep.
How are you doing spiritually? Some people want to be mentally healthy. Well, how are you doing physically? They all go hand in hand.
That's real.
So we're talking about physical health, prosperity, right? Monetary wealth and all these things. You want to be successful in the business. Well, you can obtain financial prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you mentally and spiritually, if that's off, then what's that gonna do? So I think that it's just as important as financial prosperity.
That's real.
And somebody may say, well, spirituality is more important than materialism, and I don't believe that either. I believe that materialism is just as important as spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see, because what faith without good works is dead. So you got all this faith within, you're not investing in yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not investing in the material world.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'm bringing all that up because when we're aspiring to be entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
we get so engulfed in money, being successful. We get so engulfed. You're prosperous,
Yep.
but you're empty.
Mm-hmm.
You're only addressing a third of the situation.
Yeah.
What are you doing for your community?
Yes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the UpNUp podcast on the UpNUp network. I'm your host, Rebel.
And I'm DJ Erm.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm feeling great.
Yes, sir.
Feeling blessed.
Yep.
Grateful. You know,
Yeah.
the usual.
The usual.
Right. But yeah, man, shout out to everybody in the room, the team, obviously. Great energy. And if this is your first time tuning in, as I stated, this is the UpNUp podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture.
Mm-hmm.
We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, the movers and shakers.
Yes, sir.
Those breaking down barriers,
Mm-hmm.
not only for us currently here, but for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling great, man.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always like to always preface these episodes by just letting folks know that, man, like, you know, there's so much power in the stories that we're able to tell.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful that, you know, we get a lot of great feedback from the audience,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's online, whether we see them in the streets, whatever the case is. And so today's no different, man. Today's guest is someone I would say is a multifaceted individual whose experiences span from entrepreneurship, community activism, spiritual leadership, right? He's definitely doing everything he can to stay on the up and up, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Most notably known as the owner of Seattle's infamous and famous barbershop, J Styles, right?
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, go check him out, right?
Yep.
And
Sure.
really overall, man, someone who demonstrates, I would say, again, the intersection between business, ownership, cultural heritage, spirituality, and just really upliftment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're honored to have him in the building. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Our guest is none other than the good brother himself, Jameel Shabazz, a.k.a. J Styles. Give it up.
Yes, sir.
What's brother? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here, man.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. How's the day treating you?
It's good. Today's good. Got some rest.
Yes.
Really been focused on trying to get some sleep, recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I got some sleep today. Was able to get out, get a little workout in.
Yeah, I got mine in today too. Yeah. Rest is good, bro. Rest is good, man.
Rest is everything.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets praised enough or encouraged enough.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. I have speaking about the barbershop. Well, first of all, let me say that it's an honor for me to be here. I'm looking at you young brothers, and I know Erm from the neighborhood. You know, he comes into the barbershop. I know his family, and some of you brothers look familiar too. But um, you guys are doing it. What you guys are doing is amazing. And now, before I even knew, I knew about the UpNUp before I even knew that it was you
Yeah.
guys' podcast.
Mm.
Like I heard about
Mm.
people talking about it,
Yeah.
and I never made the connection. And then somebody was saying I was talking about a podcast, and then they was like, "You talking about the UpNUp?" And I was like, "I don't think so,
Yeah,
but maybe
yeah.
it is." You know.
Yeah.
So, what you brothers is doing is it's great. I
Thank
mean,
you.
It's moving.
Thank you,
know,
bro.
it's
Thank
doing-
you.
It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Thank you,
So
bro.
Thank you.
that's oftentimes we don't have a platform to express ourselves. Now there's a lot of platforms.
Mhm.
You got social media, but specifically, we don't have a platform where we can express ourselves in a way that is unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And what
Yep.
you have a lot now dealing with social media is people feel like it's just like the music industry
Mhm.
or the entertainment industry. It's like I want to do what's right, but I know if I do, I won't get
Mm-hmm.
the pub
Mm-hmm.
that's needed. You know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so
That's real.
social media people are like, look, I need to get these likes.
Yeah.
You know, I want to tell my truth, but you know, I got to take clothes off or act a fool or do
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
stupid
Mhm.
so I can get these clicks. So
Mhm.
I really applaud you brothers for being true.
Yeah.
Sticking to it and highlighting that which is not often highlighted.
Mhm.
Because people like myself, we might as well just get into it, who do work in the community, you don't see the promotion or the advertisement
Mhm.
of the real work that's being done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so real.
And so I was raised to always support and take care of and look after people who support, take care of, and look after other people.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yep.
anytime I can support things that are being done to uplift the community, I'm all for it.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
brothers,
Appreciate it.
You got it.
Now, normally, well, we always start the episode with the quote of the day,
Mhm.
something to set the tone for the conversation. Brother
Yeah.
Man Earn, man of the
Gotcha.
quotes.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
What you got for us
The
today,
quote
man?
is embrace change, but never forget the roots of the craft.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Who said
Embrace
that?
change.
John Mosley. He's the coach from Last Chance U.
Yeah,
Basketball,
yeah,
East
yeah,
LA.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Damn, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent.
What do you think about that quote?
I think that's a phenomenal quote.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the word change is loaded, just in general. I mean, it's subjective, it's objective, it's I mean, you know, we can look at it in a multitude of ways, but when I look at change, I look at growth, and depending on the circumstance, growth may be more of a fitting word,
Yeah.
depending on what it is. 'Cause,
Yeah. Yep.
you know, you start talking about change, especially in the sensitive society that we live in today. But what's lost oftentimes is the foundation.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you know, you get the you say the analogy of a house. You build a house. The house is only as strong as its foundation.
Mhm.
And so, although we embrace growth and change, and we want to look to that, if you forget about the seed that was planted, which is the you know, the organic or the foundation, the fundamentals of the actual, you know, you could lose sight of what your goal is.
That's real.
Exactly.
And you know, we mentioned earlier about the entertainment industry, and that's what happens.
Yep.
People get into the entertainment industry with a goal and a plan in mind. I want to
Mhm.
change the world. I want to save. I want to do what's right.
Mhm.
Yep.
And as they go through so many changes and evolution and all these things, they lose sight
Yeah.
of their fundamentals
Yeah.
and the foundation, and then they lose themselves in the process.
Yeah.
Lose direction
Exactly.
They
too.
lose direction.
Yeah. That's real, man.
So
Yeah.
we gotta. I believe that we have to focus on. We have to have the focus on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's enough said right there.
There you go.
I believe you have to have the focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I
Definitely.
like that. I mean, that's the whole podcast right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
real talk.
definitely.
I love it. I love that quote too because I think the world is ever changing. The world will always change. So you can't control that. But again, like stay rooted so that through the changes that the world the external changes that happen, you know exactly who you are,
Yeah.
regardless. So
Yeah,
that's real.
definitely. So Jay, I want to take it back and talk about like your upbringing growing up. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, I have a very a generic and relatable side to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's very basic and everybody can relate to. But then I have the actual, you know, story,
Mm-hmm.
which talking about change.
Mm-hmm.
As I've gotten older, stories change. You know, I gather more information, and I hear about different things from different people, different aspects. But I have a peculiar upbringing. Um, I have a lot of family, and most people see the result of my upbringing, and they're like, "Oh, look, everything was, you know, you had." They know my father.
Yeah.
They know, where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
But um, my upbringing was a little bit different from the aspect of I wasn't raised by my biological mother.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, and these are the kind of stuff that I'm coming into.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
want to offend anybody, but I just have to speak it from my perspective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
So at some age of toddler, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, I've been told some different things. But I was raised by a woman who eventually became my stepmother, and so I was in a family that was not my blood relation. Um, and I've now came to understand that as being I was a community baby is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes from a large family. They come from down south originally, but then they went through the East Coast. And so her first husband, I think he had like up until year to date. I mean, he's passed now, but rest in peace. But he had like 20 something kids. I don't know, 21 kids or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so um, there was a time where I was raised in a house with like eight. It was eight of us. The mother that raised me, she claims 8 children.
Mm-hmm.
Me being the eighth, being the youngest. So by she was a school teacher, so I lived in a structured environment. Come home, do your homework,
Mm-hmm.
cook dinner,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I go spend time with my cousins and all these people that, again, no blood relation because
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in that environment.
Yeah.
Um, Around 7 years old, she did something that a lot of mothers wouldn't dare to do or don't have the courage to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is she had me go stay with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
which was, I thank her for that.
Yeah.
It was one of the greatest things she could have did, even though um, contrary to what the family was telling her,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because apparently my father wasn't necessarily living as wasn't living the structured life that she was living.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We had a home and stuff like that, and I think my father was living. He was just a single man and kind of ex-military,
Yeah.
and he was just kind of living, how he was living,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
single man stuff, and so people were like, "Nah, don't do that," but she did anyway. So went back to live with my father around 7, 8, maybe 9 years old.
Okay. And where was this at? Where did you guys live?
So we were living when I was living with my mother. We were living in, I think, in the north end.
Okay.
Yeah, in the north end. But I think when I was young, it didn't matter where you were living. You always found yourself back in between the south end and the city somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was going to school in the CD.
Okay.
Even though we were living out north, they would bus us and go to school in the CD, and then we'd go back out there. But again, the mother that raised me, she was one of 11 or 14. I always forget the number. So I would be in between, my auntie, her sisters, home, my uncle, her brother. They all had a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, just being raised in a community life. So I was always loved on heavily. Had that family. They come from down south, back east, so we had hospitality. We had all that stuff. So when when she had me go live with my dad, we went and we lived in the South End.
Mhm.
We moved across the street from Rainier Playfield, right on Oregon Street, excuse me, right on Oregon Street, a block down from Tennessee. And so I went from, this was in like 1986 or something like that,
Mm.
you know. And we, you know, it was, you know, we was, I don't know if we was on section, I don't know what we was on, but you know, we had food stamps
Yeah.
and roaches and all this other kind of stuff, you know. But I'm a kid,
Yeah.
right? And I'm with my
Yeah.
dad, so
Yep.
it don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and regardless of what the situation was, all I ever remember is my father being there, speaking positivity into me, building me up, you know. My father was very strategic in his lessons. Everything was a lesson.
Yeah.
You know, but he was very strategic. But my father was also like a community dad, community big brother. You know, wasn't a lot of dads around.
Yep.
I was just talking to one of my buddies who grew up in that area with us, and he was referencing my dad, but we were just talking about the old neighborhood and how we remember how there was no drugs, no heavy drugs, and then it would seem like we went to sleep and woke up one day, and then all of a sudden crack is just heavy, you know? And we're seeing some of our parents and some of our aunties and uncles, and they're just on drugs, heavy drugs. You go outside and just the whole landscape has just changed.
Yeah.
But as a young person, you have to learn how to navigate through that. So we thrust into this arena now. And I remember my dad calling me, and like I come home from school or come home from playing or something. And it was a couple of times. Like I remember one time he had a bag of weed, and he was like, "You know what this is?" I was like, "Yeah, I've seen it before." He was like, "Smell it, touch it." You know, he lit it, he burned it, and he was like, "If you ever see this, it's what you do with it. You take it, throw it in the trash." You know.
Yeah.
And he was like, "So so there's no one can your curiosity is cured. You don't have to mess with it.
Yeah.
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 I remember the conversation changed where he was saying, he pulled me in the house one day and was like, "Listen, if the neighbors ever come by here asking for baking soda, just tell them no." You know. And I remember they coming there, "Hey, you guys got some baking soda?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was like, "Nah, just tell them no." But I remember one month we didn't have to have that conversation. The next month we did have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I remember him taking me to my friend's house at the time, who lived across the street, because I came home. I was all excited. I went over there. I was like maybe 8, 9. I don't even know. I don't remember. But I'm over there playing with my buddy, and his mom's boyfriend took us in the kitchen and was like, "Look, I'm getting ready to show you guys." He was like, "You guys want to do a science project?" You know, I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I'm about to show you how to mix these chemicals up."
Yeah.
This is the mom's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I remember he had a bag and had these little stones in it, had some powder at the bottom, you know. And he got the, he got the little, what I know now, the Pyrex little thing.
Yeah.
And he had the little egg, and he's mixing all the stuff up, and he got us in there, poured us in there, mixed this up, let that boil, take it out. And we sitting there as kids, we just thinking it's a game, like we doing a science
Like
project.
impressionable too,
Yeah.
like not knowing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
And
not
he
knowing.
he got that. He pulled that thing out. It was a big old rock, He took it out. And he's like, "Look, you got to be careful with these razor blades when you're cutting this. You got to shave in there." But
Yeah.
he's grooming us,
Yeah.
so that one day he can be sending us out there,
Yeah.
work in the corner, or whatever his plans were. So I went home. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm telling my dad, "Man, we over there doing science projects, man." You know what I mean? And my dad, he said, "What?"
Yeah.
And he took us over there, man. He I mean, they got into it, but he made me go outside or whatever. So I don't know if they fought. I don't know what happened. But,
Yeah.
anyways, I wasn't allowed to go over there no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, bro, that's a real deep thing too, in terms of having a figure there
Yeah.
to correct what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you're young, you're impressionable, and whether it's through television, music, or just what you see in real life. Our brains aren't formulated enough to think rationally in terms of what's right or wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's powerful. I did in reading upon you, I did learn like about part of your upbringing was obviously your father was someone who was heavily impactful in the Muslim community as well, right? One of the first teachers in Seattle, and so I'm curious, like as you're getting older, right, and you start thinking about what do I want to do in life, what do I want to become. Can you speak to kind of like what that process was like to lead? Because people know you now for what you're doing in terms of J Styles and the barbershop and businessman, but I would love to kind of learn about what was that development process like.
Well, I remember around that time when I went to stay with my dad. So my dad used to. So let me just give you a little backstory. So talking about the foundation, that quote you're talking about. So my father came. He joined the Nation of Islam in '73, I think, '72. Whenever he came out of Vietnam, he joined the Nation of Islam, and in 1975, upon the passing of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his son, Imam Warfdeen Muhammad, became the leader of the Nation of Islam. And he led the largest transition, if you will, or the largest conversion of Muslims to take their Shahada ever recorded in American history or in history, if you will. So I don't even know how many Muslims there were, 300,000 or something like that. They all took Shahada at one time, yeah. And so my father that's when it became, Islam proper or Sunni Muslim or whatever you will. So when I'm with my dad at this time, he's listening to two things my dad listened to. It was James Brown and Imam W.D. Muhammad, his lecture tapes and stuff like that. So James Brown comes on, the whole neighborhood's at the house. We're in there dancing. We put in full concerts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When W.D. Muhammad is on, my father would sit down. He's got his notepad. He's got his book. And I'm looking at, as a young man, I'm looking at like the passion in my father's eyes when he's listening to W.D. Muhammad.
Yeah.
And then he's having these meetings and he's talking to people about the stuff that he just heard. And so as a young man looking at my father, I say to myself, whatever that is, I don't know, like, because I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
But whatever that is that man has, I want that.
That leadership.
I want that. I want that passion towards anything.
Yeah.
And so I remember we probably started traveling when I was about 14, maybe 14. Maybe my freshman year is when we started to go. They have these conventions, Muslim conventions and stuff. We started traveling, and I'm out. There's a whole bunch of kids. I'm running around playing tired. Again, I'm looking at my father. He's getting up. He's going to these lectures. He's going to these classes, and I'm just staring at him.
Yeah.
Just watching how he is just so. I said, I want that. I want that. So as a young man, the desire in me to want whatever that is, that the spirit that my father has based on listening to the religion, these lectures, I want that.
Yep.
And so I remember I used to be like, okay, this time I'm gonna go to the lecture. I'm gonna stay awake, because we'd be up till 2 and 3 in the morning at the hotels and conventions with all the kids and stuff. But I'm gonna stay up. I'd be there and I'd be trying to stay up. I'm dozing off, trying to stay up, doze off. Still didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
But that yearning and that desire never left for me to want to understand. So I'd be listening to the tapes, reading, trying to understand. I don't understand the language. I don't get it, but it's gonna come eventually.
Yeah.
So that was the motivation.
There you go.
It was that passion and that yearning to want to understand what it is that is making my father so passionate and so driven to want to change and do stuff in the community. Then I'm looking at this man who is unbiased, like all of my friends that I grew up with. And when he got older, a lot of my friends, I didn't know, they were just my friends. They come into the house, to play, because I was like the only one in the neighborhood with a Nintendo.
Yeah. You're the spot.
That's the spot.
I go to school, and come home, and the house would just be, it'd be 10 kids in there.
Yeah.
Lined up like the arcade or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And so he was the neighborhood barber.
Yeah.
He was cutting people's hair. He was the neighborhood disciplinary.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers would send their sons literally to the
Damn.
house.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, he's over here. You know, like I'm like, me and him ain't really friends, but he's over to the house. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my dad would sometimes give a cat a whooping,
Dang.
go upside somebody's head,
Yeah.
sit down, have a talk with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he was all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I look back at that, and so a lot of people are like, "Look, your dad is the only dad I ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Your dad
Wow.
is the only dad that I ever knew."
Wow.
And I never took that for granted. I understood at a very young age that I had a dad. I understood that
Mhm.
Mhm.
it wasn't something like,
Yeah.
Took for granted.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that also was because early on I didn't live in the house with him too.
Mm-hmm.
So when my mother, or the mother that raised me, when she said, "You got to go stay with your dad,"
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah.
you always have that yearning and that desire.
That's real,
for that
man.
to be,
Yeah.
That's real.
So, what started your passion for actually like cutting hair?
and my dad.
Yeah.
So in the 7th grade, it was one of these years I would go. So I started going back and being with my biological mom probably, I think around the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Maybe I was around 12,
Yeah.
and it was off and on.
Yeah.
Because she still had, whatever she was going through. So I would go stay there, and then it might last 3, 4, 6 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would go. I don't know. People tell me different stuff, but I
Yeah.
just know from my experience. And so this one particular time, I think I was in the 7th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember we were living in Skyway, and she was giving me. Well, first of all, let me say this: cutting hair is in my DNA.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
My mother,
Definitely.
my biological mother, she had her cosmetology license.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if she ever cut in the shop. And then my dad was cutting hair.
Mhm.
Barber. My sister, when we were young, she started cutting hair.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Not in the shop, but she was cutting.
Yep,
she
yep.
cutting hair. And then my mother was sending me to my cousin, who's Earl.
Mm-hmm.
Earl's Cuts and Styles.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So she was sending me to him, and she used to give me $20 to go get my hair cut.
Yeah.
Mm.
Back then,
Yep.
that was a lot.
Yeah.
The cuts might have been $10 or something. And so my dad got hurt. He heard of this and was like, "Man, save that money." And he was like, "You got a pair of clippers?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
So he sat me down in front of a mirror and taught me how to cut my hair. How
Yeah.
to cut my own hair.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with the clippers and cutting hair.
Mm.
And I was always good at drawing.
Yeah.
And so I started to cut some of the kids' heads in the neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
that everybody wanted designs. So
Yeah.
I could do designs real well. I don't know
Wow.
how good my cuts were. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I don't know. I don't remember giving bowl cuts and messing
Yeah,
up, but I
yeah.
remember I could do designs and stuff. And so it kind of just took off from there, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
cut my hair. And I'm doing
Mhm.
that, cutting my own hair. So when I got to high school, I started, charging for some stuff. And then I went back to live with my dad when I was a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived in the CD.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And he managed an apartment complex, and a lot of people, that's where a lot of people remember me, like cutting hair. And so we had the office in the apartment complex. We
Mhm.
changed that into a little barbershop, and so I would have people come up there, and I kind of started.
Wow.
It kind of took off there. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, bro. Because I
Yeah.
think what I realize is like, we have a lot of people come on the show and they represent a lot of different industries and professions, but not everybody's story is like that, where they kind of developed at a young age and started early. Some people, they might have caught the spark later in life,
Yeah.
and there's no right or wrong time to start any passion, right?
Mhm.
But I guess when you talk about opening the barbershop, right, Jay Styles, what's that? Because I feel like I always love to hear the period before that, because I think sometimes people just only know, okay, he decided to open the shop and he opened the shop and it went on to be successful. And I know there's a lot of decision making, processing before you actually go and take that leap. So what was that period like leading up to, like, okay, I want to open my own shop?
Well, I know I mentioned earlier about my life my upbringing being very unique.
Mhm.
And one of the um, unique things about my upbringing was that my life was pretty much um, the path was pretty much guided by God.
Mm.
And when I say that, I'm saying that whatever energy or whatever desire I had, and that's why I was talking about the desire to like to have the be like have the same energy and spirit that my father had. It's the same thing with the barbering.
Mhm.
It wasn't a calculated process that I went
Mm.
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
with almost anything in life.
That's real.
There was nothing that was calculated. It was more based on the desire and the yearning to be better,
Mhm.
and God presented opportunities for me.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
the process was the uh, um, um, lessons in my upbringing that prepared me to be able to take advantage of the opportunities.
Mhm.
So with the barbershop, all that cutting that I was doing since 13, 14 years old, when I was, then one of my friends at the time, really good friend of mine, he's a barber also.
Mhm.
So he was the first one to be, he got his barber's license early, did the program in high school. He called me one day. I was
Mhm.
18 years old. I was working. I had a job working for the city.
Mhm.
And he called me and said, "Hey, man, this lady's opening up a barbershop. She needs barbers." I was like, "Well, I ain't got no license." He was like, "It don't matter. She's doing a grand opening. She just needs barbers. Come up there."
Yeah.
And shout out, her name is Sheila Callendray. Shout out to Sheila Callendray. And Strictly Cuts Barbershop was the name of the barbershop. It was right on Orcas,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Rainer and Orcas. And I just went up there, brought my clippers,
Yep.
first time meeting her,
Mhm.
set up shop, and the rest is history.
Got busy.
Got busy.
Mhm.
And I was the we went through, there's a few barbers that came through there, but I mean we went through some, talk about the process. We went through times where there was no heat. We went through times where there was, you know what I'm saying? We went through
Yeah.
times where it was just me cutting in there. Went through
Mhm.
times where lights was out, all different kind of
Yeah.
stuff that we was
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my father always promoted, especially coming from the Nation of Islam, that you always, entrepreneurship is the goal.
Mhm.
Even if you work for somebody else, the end goal is that you work for yourself. So you work for somebody else, you learn. So
Mhm.
I had jobs. I worked at Safeway, worked at, I don't know if you guys remember the locker room.
The
You guys
locker
might
room.
be too young for the locker room.
Think so. I don't
It
know.
was
I don't
identical
think
to
so.
Foot Locker.
What's a
Yeah,
locker?
that's what I was
Okay.
thinking. I was like,
I-
this
I-
probably
Foot
sound like a
Locker,
Foot
yeah.
Locker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the locker room. They had more. They had, I don't even know if they sold shoes. They had
Yeah.
hats and posters and
Okay.
all other things sports. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got you.
I worked at the locker room. I worked at a couple other places. I worked at Safeway. I think I mentioned that. But even when I was young, 10 years old, when I went to live with
Mhm.
my dad was, I was talking about, man, I need some money. I need some money. So my dad was like, all right, well, let's go out here and get it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
He took me to Safeway, had me stand outside. No, we went and talked to the manager. He was like, look, I got my son here. He's trying to make some money. And we came up with this whole spiel. He was like, you're going to stand outside. And when people come outside, you're going to ask them, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am. Do you think I can help you take your groceries to the car to earn some honest money?
Mm.
And so I'm 10 years old.
Mhm.
I'm
Yep.
standing outside of Safeway. Excuse me, ma'am. So now what? But what's the what?
Planting seeds.
What's the lesson
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
whole thing?
Yeah.
So you're talking to folks. So now you got to communicate.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
you're building up those communication skills. I mean, just what kind of confidence? You're striking away a lot of fears.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're talking about earning some. I have to continuously say, I'm trying to earn some honest money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to earn some honest
Yep.
money. There's nothing conniving. There's no trickery to it all,
Yeah.
And so I'm 10 years old going home with $10, $15 because back then they're giving you a quarter, 50
Yep.
cent,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone, the lesson alone right there. And
Yeah.
he stood there for a couple of days with me, and then he stopped standing there, and I just go up there on the weekends,
Mhm.
and everybody else is, running around and asking their parents and stuff. Man, I got a pocket full of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know? So instilling those things in me at a very young age, I look back and I say, man, that was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That was heavy.
It all connects. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
So process, I guess that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The process wasn't necessarily. I mean, the reality of it is this too. I started my own barbershop before I even had all the logistics.
You were already
Mhm.
doing it before you
Yeah.
opened
Yep.
up the actual shop. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I opened up an actual shop before I had all of my
Oh,
credentials.
Oh,
got you,
yeah,
got you.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. I got that stuff,
Yeah.
when I was almost forced to,
Mhm.
But everything kind of just flowed. Is my point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even my whole life, everything just flowed. When I wanted to buy my first house, it wasn't a situation where I was like, man, I got to go through this process, the same process everybody else does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my wife at the time. We got married, and we got an apartment, and we had one kid. We had a
Mhm.
1-bedroom apartment.
Yep.
She got pregnant again. She's like, look, we gotta make a move.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just put it out there. My energy, my
Mhm.
desire, my passion was that we got to get a house. So I'm just moving about. I'm talking to folks. I'm just doing things, and everything just kind of presents itself.
Yeah.
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 That's the power of
Yeah.
the universe, though. That's how it works.
That's what I'm saying.
Words are powerful, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's real. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of what you're talking about is what they call manifestation, obviously, but I think there's a lot of action that has to go behind that.
Mhm.
You know, I think words are powerful, but I think the universe, I feel like it also picks up on your emotion, your
Mhm.
actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I
For
feel you.
sure.
It's kind of like you do that to get to there, and then that gets you there, and then it
Mhm.
just kind of keeps
Yeah.
like snowballing like that,
Yeah.
So
That's how I feel.
that's
Like, I feel like if I say I want to do something, I feel like the universe receives it and it says, all right, you going to move or not?
mhm.
Because it's also the energy of movement, you know?
Exactly.
Man, bro, that's
On that,
amazing.
on that really
That's
quick,
amazing.
really
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because it's something that stuck with me. Sometimes you hear stuff a lot, but the way you hear it
Mhm.
will click.
Yep.
I was on social media looking at a reel or something, and Morgan Freeman, I think it's a clip from a movie. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if it was an interview or a clip from a movie, but Morgan Freeman said, when you pray for something, God doesn't give you that thing. He gives you the opportunity
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to take advantage.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, the one of the definitions of success
Mhm.
is when preparation meets opportunity.
Mhm.
So every day um, we have to look at the day as an opportunity
Yep.
to be successful, to
Mhm.
practice, to prepare.
Yeah.
And speaking about faith as a Muslim, um, one of the distinguishing factors, one of the distinct differences, if you will, about Islam is that you're a practicing Muslim. When you call yourself a Muslim, you're practicing
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
Making your prayers is practice.
Yeah.
Reading is practice. So
Mhm.
we look at it as practice.
Mhm.
So as soon as you even say Muslim, regardless of who the eyes are or the ears are that heard or saw you, they even start to cast judgment slightly. Not in a bad way, but
Mhm.
they look, we know that you ain't supposed to be eating pork. We know you're supposed to conduct yourself in a certain
Yep.
manner. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I love about the faith is that it restores. Talking about foundation,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the foundation of human existence
Mhm.
is to continue to practice.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we know growing up playing sports, they say practice makes perfect, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And so in Islam, one of the things that it offers is perfection.
Mhm.
Continue to strive for perfection. It doesn't shy away from perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It says when a Muslim sets out to accomplish something, they seek to perfect it.
Mhm.
Mm.
So we continue to practice.
That's real.
We continue to practice. It's not void. There's no separation of religion and livelihood.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they're not separate. They're the
Mhm.
exact same thing.
Mhm.
A religion is your way of life, and we've shied away from the word religion. It's been taboo. People are like, well, I don't like religion. I don't like
Mm.
religion
Mm-hmm.
because they think that the word religion means structure, but then structure means restriction,
Mm.
and so people don't like restriction.
Oh man, that's
People don't
Yeah.
that's real, bro.
That is,
I
yeah.
heard a quote where they said, discipline versus freedom. right? And it was like it was a soundbite from this song I heard. And the dude was talking about people see someone who's disciplined, like look at he's disciplined. He doesn't have freedom. Everything's so structured, so rigid. He's like, no, I have freedom because I have discipline, right? Like you being disciplined in certain things will unlock
Yeah.
a certain freedom for you to move how you want,
Yes.
right? So, but you got to go through it yourself to understand
Gotta
that.
go through it yourself.
Yeah,
to
that's real,
understand it.
man.
Yeah,
That's real, man.
definitely, man.
Yeah.
For real. I also want to touch on like what were some of like your challenges being like an entrepreneur? Like what were some of the things you had to go through to kind of figure out, like pretty much get to where you are?
Well, he just touched on it, which is the
Mhm.
discipline
Yeah.
aspect. When you become an entrepreneur, what ends up happening is entrepreneurship really means responsibility.
Right.
Boom.
That's really
I
what
love
Yeah.
that, bro.
Right.
And
I love that.
when you are an employee,
Mm-hmm.
your responsibility is dictated to you. You fulfill the task that someone gives you.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep.
Your reward is a check.
Yep.
When you become an entrepreneur, it's all on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on you. But to your point, when you have the discipline to fulfill all of the obligations that are thrust upon you, the freedom that you have is that you don't have a master, so to speak. You're your own master.
Yeah.
So the challenges are just that. For me personally, somebody else might
Yeah.
have it different, but it was the discipline. And so there's times where, I mean, I got so many things going on, and we'll touch on that too, as I kind of look like it's a problem. I got so many things going on. It's very easy for me to forget.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna say discipline's a challenge. I'm gonna say organization,
Mm-hmm.
because I can forget. So I'm talking about simple. Right now, I don't know when this is gonna air, but my tabs are due on my car.
Oh, that makes two of us.
Right.
Three.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so-
three of us.
and
So
so-
those- okay, 4 or 5. All right, we all gotta get.
And as small as that seems,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It becomes big when you get pulled over and you get you a ticket, or
Yeah,
when you try
right.
to go do something.
Yeah,
You know?
that's real.
But that's not because I'm lazy. That's because I got so much stuff going on that it seems so small. You push that into the back,
Mhm.
That's real.
and then you don't take care of it. So that has hurt me in my business.
Mm-hmm.
There was times where I didn't renew my barber's license,
Yeah.
and I swore I did.
Yeah.
And it's not till I get that email or
Yeah.
that letter in the mail saying, "Hey man, you got to renew your license." So I've had to get it. Now it turns into something major. Now I got to get on with the state board.
Yep.
I got to say, "Look, man, I'm a year past, and
Cost you more time than it would have cost you.
more time.
Yeah.
You just want some money." And so, now here's the thing though, because somebody mentioned something about taking leaps.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I have a secretary? Why don't I have a paid? How come I haven't scaled my business to where I have employees handling that stuff for me?
Yeah.
That I'm paying
Yeah.
to where that can relieve the pressure off of me, and all the things that I'm doing, I can spend more time on that. So, but that's where the discipline comes in,
Yep.
right?
That's real.
So, it's not, the question is not even what were some of the, it's what are some of the
Yeah.
challenges. The challenges are still the same.
Yep.
They're still the same.
I-
Trying to be organized.
Yeah, I guess another question I had, because I mean, so J Styles has been open for 15,
20 years.
20 years.
Mhm.
Hey, round of
21,
applause for that.
22,
We get a round of
yeah.
applause for that. Bro, that's
Something like that.
so I asked that question because, bro, that's first of all, congrats on 20 years, because that's not an easy feat. But I am curious from your perspective and your experience. I see barbers who may want to transition into owning their own shop. But I also feel like it's more than just being a skilled barber. So for you, like, what's some advice you'd give to barbers right now who are maybe at a shop and their vision is I want to own my own one day? Like, what's some transitioning advice you'd have for them? We kind of touched on the discipline part as
Yeah.
well, but
Well, yeah, no, it's with barbering is different because we're talking about environments, right? There's a lot of people cutting hair. There's not a lot of barbers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people cutting hair. There's a lot of people turning on clippers, giving great haircuts, giving bad haircuts, but there's not a lot of barbers. And we can use this as a segue into the other elements of the things that I do with the community. But the barber is a community center. The barbershop's a community center. So if you plan on opening up your own barbershop, you know what, we you have to look at all the other elements of business. A restaurant serves food, but there's restaurants where the food ain't all that great.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we go there for? The ambiance,
Yep.
service is great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe the price is where you want it to be. Sometimes people go places just because it's expensive,
Mm-hmm.
so they can talk about it. But ain't nobody really talking about the potatoes and the steak like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's
Yeah.
real.
In the barbershop, man, people go there for therapy. You go
Mhm.
there to get the happenings on the
Mhm.
up and up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You go
Mhm.
there to chop it up with your barber. You go
Mhm.
there to
Go
the
debate.
games on. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
debate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it just so happens that your cut is like that filthy,
Mm-hmm.
then so be it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there's a level of loyalty. So I encourage, because I do have barbers. We've had 5 or 6 barbers come through there, and I'm proud to say that most of the barbers that have came and left, they've taken the lessons that they've learned in the barbershops and some of the mentorship that I've given them,
Mhm.
and they've applied that to their life, and they're successful in
Mhm.
whatever they're doing. in
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Some of them are very, very, very successful,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are, but they're all successful in their own
In their own
right.
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 Yeah.
But that's because what I told them was, it's not about, you can always enhance in the cut,
Mm-hmm.
but what energy are you giving to your clients? What
Yeah.
energy are you giving to the environment?
Yeah.
That's real.
What is the aura? What are you setting?
At the
Yep.
culture.
The
Yep.
culture,
Yeah.
exactly. So I would encourage barbers who are looking to open up their own shops.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, tackle the organization early.
Mm-hmm.
Like get going now. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't try to wait until you have all this responsibility. And then what are your plans for your environment?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going in there mixing business and personal?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going up in there because um, Amazon used to just sell books
Yeah.
online.
Exactly.
And now if Amazon would have said, look, man, all we want to do is sell books, then right now Amazon would be $1 a share,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably would be obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he said, how can we cater to the world?
Mm-hmm.
How can we cater to the universe?
Yeah.
An alien can buy something off Amazon. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's real.
Exactly.
So you can keep, and this is for business just in general. What I see a lot of times in business, especially in barbershops or environments like the barbershop, is that people are so engulfed in how they feel about a situation
Mm-hmm.
that they create an environment based on how they feel.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, imagine if I had a catering business and I made all the food to my liking and my taste.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then so when people come in a barbershop, so can you serve the grandmother who's bringing in her grandchild?
Mm-hmm.
Can you serve the middle-aged Caucasian woman who's adopted the black kid? Can she
Yeah.
sit in there and feel comfortable?
Yep.
Can the black man who's a pastor fit in there,
Yep.
as well as
Mm-hmm.
the dope dealer? Can he
Mhm.
sit in there too? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah.
But if you're only catering to the dope dealer,
Mm-hmm.
well, then that's all you're gonna have is clients.
Man, that's
Exactly.
such a real.
Yeah,
That's that's some real advice.
Like you're creating a space where everybody could coexist in
Yeah.
there, and like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I definitely feel that when I walk in there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
We
you're
try,
definitely
yeah.
doing. You know,
That's real too. I think it applies to a lot of business in general.
Mhm.
Because you can walk into a spot and you feel like, oh, I don't fit in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if you're there to get the service and you're like, it's just that vibe. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the employees in your establishment dictate the climate.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
so you own a restaurant or something, and your employees got a bad attitude. Just one employee.
Yep.
You don't know who they coming to. Me and my wife just celebrated 25 years of marriage.
Congrats, bro.
Congratulations, man.
Appreciate you. And we was in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas got everything for you.
Yep.
Now, I mentioned I'm Muslim. We don't gamble. We don't drink. We don't do any of that. And you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can have what we would consider a halal time while you're in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
We're at the restaurant, and the guy that was our actual waiter, he's from Seattle too, so he might,
Mm-hmm.
but he lives out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we go into this, 7-star, Michelin.
Yeah.
We go up in this place that I done already prepaid for and set it all up.
Yeah.
And we walk in, the ambiance is going, man. Everything is on point, man. We ain't never seen nothing like this. just walking to the. We ain't even got
Yeah.
to the waiter yet, and everything is just on point. So then the waiter comes around there, and I'm looking at my wife like, "What's going on here?" Like there was just a drop off
Yeah.
in the whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like the whole build up to
Man,
it.
you know, and he didn't even. You know, you go down to Applebee's, and they're like, "How you doing today?"
Yeah.
You know,
Personable.
Yep.
you know, did you guys need a menu?
Yeah.
You know, here's
Yeah.
what the special is.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
This man, literally, I'm no exaggeration. He said, "So you guys ready?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "All right,"
Just waiting.
and looked at us like, and I'm looking around like,
Yeah.
and I had set this whole elaborate thing up already,
Yeah.
and already paid, and already did this, and you're ruining it now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, but anyways, the point that I'm making is that was one employee, because when we were looking at the bus boy and all this stuff, I mean, they had this Mexican cat who was in there, and his meticulousness and his
Yeah.
attention to detail when he's
Mhm.
setting up the spoons,
Mm-hmm.
that was intriguing to us. We was
Yeah.
like, watch him. We just
Yeah.
sat there and watched him for
Yeah.
5 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
He was serious. Then they had a dude. Not sometime I think they be doing, because in our section, it wasn't even nobody really in the section.
Mm-hmm.
They had this dude with an earpiece in. He walking around looking like Men in Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just like, man,
It's
look
official,
at that.
bro.
You know,
Yeah.
everything is, you know.
The hell?
And then here come this waiter dude.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Then later in the evening, he asked us, "Where you guys from?" We like Seattle. He's like, "Me too." And then I looked at her. I said, "That's why he was. You know, he's coming here from Seattle. He
They
think-"
bringing
I
that.
said, "This is ridiculous." man."
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Nah, that's real
Yeah.
though. That's some real thing. That's some real insight, man.
Yeah.
It applies to everything, man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like the whole one bad apple mantra or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So, I mean, you mentioned you've been open for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we kind of were like talking about change. So I actually want to ask, like, how do you keep up with the like hairstyles over the years?
Mhm.
Like, is that something? Because we never see the barbers like practice it or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But it's just like, oh, we know how to do this. We know how to do, you know. So
Yeah,
is
they-
it like, was it, you
They
know?
do your barber's practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be on social media. You got to see what's going on.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest. I have the privilege
Yeah.
of being very selective
Mm-hmm.
with my clientele.
Yeah.
And so some of these new styles and stuff, I can do them.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of like to cater to a little bit more of a mature
Yeah.
kind of
Yep.
business
Yeah.
clientele. I have the ability to do that. But these young barbers coming in, they got the latest and greatest, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you got to stay up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But a lot of social media though,
Okay.
is really how you stay up on it, you know.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, it changes. It's rapid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has happened now, the major thing that's happened now in the barber game is that there's no more such thing as the black hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
People are like, man, I gotta go to a black barber. Those days don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That is real. That's true.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you know, I know you guys probably touched on culture vultures and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
That's what has happened in the barber game.
Mm.
Is that all the other nationalities have now adopted the black style, but it's
Gotcha.
no longer the black style. You got the Asian, the white boy, the Mexican. Everybody can cut. You just seen it with Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl. They calling it the Travis Kelce. Yeah, he got a skin tight fade, and not even a filthy one at that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And they talking about
It's
the
subtle.
Travis-
It's subtle the
It's
way they do it.
subtle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
real. I didn't even
So
notice that.
white kids coming and talking about, can I get the Travis Kelce? I'm
Yeah.
looking at this kid like, you know, you got to show me a picture just to make sure that I'm hearing you right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
just a regular little skin tight fade, man.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so you just got to be up on that. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta
That's
be.
real.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I kind of had the same reaction too. I was like, "What?" Travis. I was like,
Exactly.
"This been here for like years." Like, I
Exactly.
don't know what you guys talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
man, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to ask you this, bro, because I think this can be helpful for, you know, anybody out there, any entrepreneur really, or aspiring entrepreneur. But like, how important would you say, regardless of your faith background, like how important would you say it is to have a commitment or develop that spiritual foundation to balance out your professional pursuits, entrepreneurial pursuits, or career pursuits? Like, how, for you, obviously, you have experience with that, but how do you think that would help others? Or how important do you think it is?
Well, I go to a naturopathic doctor. He's recently moved, Dr. Kareem Abdullah. Shouts out to him. He's in California now. He told me something one time. he said that he believes that it's impossible for an individual to be healthy 100% if they're not aspiring to be healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Some people come into the doctor's office and they want to be physically healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's your mental? How's your mental doing?
Yep.
How are you doing spiritually? Some people want to be mentally healthy. Well, how are you doing physically?
Mm-hmm.
They all go hand in hand.
That's real.
So we're talking about physical health, prosperity, right? Monetary wealth and all these things. You want to be successful in the business. Well, you can obtain financial prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you mentally and spiritually, if that's off, then what's that gonna do?
Yeah.
So it's like you're now we can go into all these quotes, what profits a man to gain the world but lose his soul and all these other kind of things. So you have to nurture every aspect of the human being
Right.
to be overall healthy. So I think that it's just as important as financial prosperity.
That's real.
And somebody may say, well, spirituality is more important than materialism, and I don't believe that either. I believe that materialism is just as important as spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see, because faith without good works is dead. So you got all this faith within you're not investing in yourself.
Yeah.
You're not investing in the material world.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is, I know, Islamically, depending on your school of thought or the ideas that you whoever you studied under. But I know in the Imam Warfdi Muhammad being a student of his, this is what he promotes, and the Quran backs it up. The Quran backs it up to not leave off this world, to not leave off this earth, to not leave off the practical life that we live.
Yep.
So I'm bringing all that up because when we're aspiring to be entrepreneurs, we get so engulfed in money, being successful. We get so engulfed that, again, going back to the original quote, we forget the foundation.
Yep.
We came into this world, you didn't have no money.
Mm-hmm.
You were a flesh and blood human being that was dependent on your community, dependent on your upbringing and the cultivation and all of the community that poured into you to bring you up. And then you get some type of, or you go to school and get master's degrees and you forget about, now you're off on your own. You get this money and now you're off on your own and you ain't doing nothing for the community. I got a good friend of mine, matter of fact, one of the barbers. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a barber in the barbershop. He's very successful right now. Very successful. And his father, who's a Muslim, all his father keeps telling him is, what are you doing for the community? That's all his father says to him.
Yeah.
You got all these millions of dollars. What are you doing for the community? Because he understands, look, okay, son, you're prosperous.
Yep.
But you're empty. You're only addressing a third of the situation.
Yeah.
What are you doing for your community? That same community that raised you. I'm your father. I taught you entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Okay, so now what? So we can't leave that off, and you will feel whole. This is just my own personal opinion.
Right.
You will feel whole, and you'll be able to sleep at night if you're giving back, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're giving back.
Yeah.
You're doing what needs to be done, and you're investing in your spirituality.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Thank you, bro, for that. Because I just brought that up because I do think, like you said, I think it is important to have a balance because, I mean, regardless of what you're into, whether it's entrepreneurship, business, career, like you said, we're humans. Like, we go through this thing called life. And it's like sometimes your big deal that you closed ain't got nothing to do with how you're going to handle this real life situation, So that's where the spirituality and all those other elements come in. So, yeah, thank you for that.
You also mentioned you've been married 25 years.
25
Congrats
years.
again. I want to ask you, like, how has, like, marriage and, like, parenthood pretty much, like, influenced you in the way you view life, I guess,
So, going back to my childhood again, growing up in a Muslim household, marriage was always promoted. That was always the goal. That was never, you know, the way we look at marriage today in society is like, you know, I remember I had a friend of mine. Me and my wife got our first apartment. Our neighbor, we met, and he was like, "Man, you guys is married?" And we was 21 when we got married. He was like, "Man, I ain't getting married." I think he was younger than me at the time. He was
Yeah.
like 19. He was like, "Man, I ain't getting married till I'm like 40." You
Yeah.
know. But that's like a common understanding. You know. So just the rearing, if you will, and the guidance to be married. That was always the goal. There was never any reservations or hesitations about it. We're
Yeah.
gonna get married, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then getting married and being married. In Islam, it says that marriage is half your religion. Again, religion, way of life, right? Well, we're all men in here. We look at it from a male perspective.
Yeah.
Study history, like what is a lot of empires, the downfall has been, you know, infidelity or chasing tail, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We look in today's society and the downfall of a lot of empires and dynasties.
Yep.
It's, you know, some
Right.
type of scandal. You
Yep.
know
That's
what I
real.
mean? Something like this.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
I know for myself, I'm gonna say this on here. My wife's gonna listen to this, and I'm not answering no questions. And she's gonna want to ask. Being married has saved my life personally. Being married has saved my life. It has kept me away from certain temptations.
Yep.
You know, the obligation to being married. I don't play with the marriage.
Yeah.
Talking about process. There was a story that my dad told me. I don't know why he told me this, but I know how I ingested it, and I still believe that till this day.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know, we were driving. He said, "Man, I had 3 friends. I think when he went to Vietnam, I'm not sure. But anyways, he went away. When he came back, 3 of his friends were dead. And he was like, man, these are my guys.
Yeah.
So he said he was investigating, like, what happened to him. He's like, one of them, they found him in a ditch somewhere. One of them died of, like, you know, mysteriously, natural causes. Nobody knew what it was. And the other one, you know, got shot or something like that. And he said, when he was investigating, like, well, man, what was, like, I need to know what happened here.
Yeah.
He said all he found is that all 3 of them was cheating on their wives. That's what he found. Now, I'm a young man, 10 years old. I'm listening to this.
Yeah.
So the way I only see things in black and white at that age. All I equated it to, 1 + 1 is 2. If you cheat on your wife, you'll end up dying. That's, you know what I'm saying?
It's a real lesson right there.
That's a cold one.
Yeah.
And even till this day, like, if you guys were to tell me, like, inform me of something, the reason why I got this World and Vision on, you got it on too. I'm at the house one day, and I'm just going to relate this to the story. And somebody sent me something, I think it was on Instagram or on Facebook or something. I pulled it up, and this guy was giving a speech. You guys might have seen it. And he was talking about investing in people's last names. And he said, when you go buy that Gucci, that Louis, all them name brands, those are people's last names.
Yeah.
He said, you're investing in those people's last names. He said, so you're going to spend $5,000 or $1,000, $7,000 on this bag or this hat or whatever you're buying.
Yeah.
You are building somebody else's legacy. And what do you get in return?
Yep.
Is the one around saying, I got this expensive bag? Simultaneously, within 2 hours' time, my wife comes home. It's my birthday. My wife comes home. I just got done watching this show. She comes home with these glasses.
Yeah.
We were just at the mall, and we was walking around, and I'm, you know, I like to window shop. I put on these expensive glasses, and we're in the mirror, and I'm like, ooh, I like these. I put them back. She comes home with these expensive glasses. It was like Versace or something, you know, $500, $600. I don't know how much that stuff costs.
Yeah.
And I open up the package. She's happy birthday. You know, I open it up. I just got done watching this video.
The timing is perfect.
And I told her, now we have a little thing. Every time my wife buys me something since we were dating, she buy me a shirt. Even she picks out my clothes. I'm just like, it's the wrong size or it's the wrong color.
Yeah.
Or I asked you to get the black ones and you got the gray ones. So she's just like, I'm not fooling with you no more. I'm not picking nothing out. I'm not buying you nothing. So here we go with these glasses.
Yeah.
I don't want to let her down because I'm trying to regain her trust that you could do stuff for me. But I had to tell her, I said, I can't unsee this. That's my point.
Yeah.
If I hear something like that, I can't just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's locked in.
Yeah.
So when I heard that from my dad, it's locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just don't believe in, like, I can't cheat on my wife,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But that's marriage, though. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, the
Yeah.
obligation of marriage. So God gave me that at a young age where, like, you step out if you want, but you're going to. So I really believe that if I was to cheat on my wife, I'm going to be driving down the street somewhere, or I'm going to be found in a ditch, or I'm going to get shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I believe that.
I feel you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people say stuff like, you know, superstition, all that stuff only works if you believe in it. Well, I believe in that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna work on me.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
You got
Yeah.
you. Got you.
That's
Yeah,
some
so
great
marriage-
advice, bro.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
marriage has shaped me, because I'm obligated to it. It has allowed me to fulfill my obligation as a father, as a husband.
Mm-hmm.
It has allowed me. I want it to work. I desire for it to work.
Right.
Talked about the energy
Yep.
in the process. So because I have a yearning to be married, I love being married.
Mm.
If I was to divorce my wife or something was to happen where I'm going to get married again. I don't have no sour taste in my mouth about
Yeah.
marriage. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't care how bad whatever happens. I
Mhm.
will get married. I believe that, I believe in companionship. I
Mhm.
believe that human beings exist.
Mhm.
As a religious man,
Mm-hmm.
there's a story of Adam, and it's not just Adam. It's
Mhm.
Adam and Eve. It's
Mhm.
Adam and his wife.
Yeah.
So that's helped me. I wouldn't have the level of success, I don't believe,
Yeah.
without marriage. My wife has put the call out there for, for things to happen
Mm-hmm.
to benefit the family,
Mhm.
and I had to respond. Um,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
real.
because
That's real talk.
yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
could just, I mean, as men, we can tough it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're kind of just happy sometimes. Give me a basketball and a full tank of gas. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like
We
I
make it
mean,
happen.
yeah, like
Make it
I'm
hurt.
cool. You know,
Yeah.
Figure it
But
out.
I got kids that depend on me, man, and a wife that depends on me. I got a community that depends on me. I got family that depends on me. So
Mm-hmm.
there's things that I have to do, and I believe. I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but I believe in the pressures of community life. I believe that is uh, oftentimes the only motivation that we need to be successful.
Mhm.
I believe in that,
Mhm.
and I see in our society now that there's this fantasy idea that I can exist by myself.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking around the room. I'm seeing we got the brothers from the continent, right?
Mhm.
Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia. I'm assuming,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I go around my brothers from East Africa, West Africa, I see that the culture is about community.
Mhm.
We respect community to the extent to where it is the motivation. It's a large part of my motivation for doing the things that I do.
Yeah.
And you see that in the Mexican communities, you see that in Hispanic communities, you see that in the Asian communities, where when I'm gonna come to America, get an education, I'm gonna make this money, and I'm gonna take some of my earnings, I'm gonna send them back home.
Mhm.
There is never a disconnection from community.
Yeah.
There was a time in the African American community it was like that also.
Mhm.
There was a time when we used to sit on a stoop, we used to listen to our uncles, our mother would say something. There was a time when you left the house, you wore your last name proudly.
Mhm.
That's a Jenkins boy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you walk around, and your parents would say, listen, don't be going out here making this last name look bad.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yep.
That's your community. That's your tribe. That's
Mhm.
your, and so I see this effort to create the disconnect between community and the individual
Mm.
and these young people.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
it too.
And so there's no respect for the elders. And so so you're not getting wisdom
Mhm.
because the youth got a lot of energy. They got the soldier mentality.
Yeah.
But without the wisdom there, and so then you got these moms and these grandmothers and grandfathers that want to be young. They're hanging out. They just,
Yeah.
grandfather smoking weed with his grandson, the grandmother at the club with her granddaughter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, man.
Yep.
So speaking about marriage, that's the beginning of community life. Then you have kids. Then you have a
Mhm.
community inside your own home.
That's
Yeah.
real.
So then your obligation is to that.
Mhm.
So now you have to raise these kids to respect the community life,
Mhm.
to be
real.
productive in the society.
Yeah.
You know, I got 4 kids, and you know they peer pressure is real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, some of them I got amazing children,
Mhm.
and I don't tell them enough. They're gonna hear this interview, and I can tell them I'm proud of all of them. You know,
Yeah.
I mean the stuff that they're doing is phenomenal. I got one that's in early child care, early childhood development. She's
Mhm.
I got my son is a student athlete. Another daughter is an entrepreneur. I just
Mhm.
brought you guys some cookies here too.
Oh, yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Cookies.
you seen
Yeah.
them at the
Love that.
They were
barbershop.
good too. I had
Right.
to
Yeah, and I got another one who's who's um she went to college. She got her AA, but it wasn't really. She went for business. But she started working,
Mhm.
Mhm.
saving her money. She wants to get into real estate, so we're in the process now of buying her first property.
Mm.
Nice.
So we're looking at getting like a duplex or a triplex or something, you know.
Yeah.
She saved all of her money. She listened.
Yep.
That's my firstborn right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, she has that same passion in her eyes looking at me that I had with my father.
Yeah.
She listens to me. I have a story. I'm going to release the microphone to somebody else in a second.
I know you're good.
But she, I think that this is where things need to be. And it's okay.
Mhm.
This is what people in today's society need to understand. It's okay.
Mhm.
My daughter's 24 years old. She has a nose piercing.
Mhm.
She expressed to me she wanted to get a nose piercing at about maybe 16.
Mhm.
Now, I don't like to tell my kids no because I'm trying to stay away from using negative words.
Yeah.
But I also want my kids to understand that you got to make your own decision. So when you come to me and ask me something, I want it to be purely because you're trying to seek the advice from someone who's wiser than you. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need my approval. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You
Mm.
just
Yeah, I get
want
what you're
That's
saying.
real.
you want it needs to be that look, I'm young,
Mhm.
you're older, you're wiser. What is your opinion on this
Mhm.
matter?
Mm.
So my daughter would not get her nose pierced until I gave her the okay,
Mhm.
so to speak.
Mhm.
But I never told her she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I said, hey, you can make your own decisions, but I just think that you're young and a hole in your body is permanent, you
Mhm.
know? So, you know, why don't you do some research and so we held off for years. I think she got it when she was like 21.
Mhm.
And, you know, when she came to me and said, I think I made my decision, I'm gonna go do it.
Mhm.
And will you come with me? And we took her up there. Now this ain't just simple. It's a nose piercing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was not about the nose piercing. It's about the fact that she respected the wisdom from her father.
Yep.
In our religion, we have, you know, something called a wali. You know, the wali is a person that is, for women, they have a male wali,
Mhm.
that male representation when they're out here dealing in the world.
Mhm.
And there's goons and goblins out here. You need some male protection and
Yeah.
representation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she respects me as such, you know. She's also the one that is 7 years old. We made a pact. Look, I'm gonna stay a virgin until I get married, you know. So she listens. She
Mhm.
saves all her money. I told her, you need to invest, you need to do this, you need to have credit, you need to build it up, you need to look at it a certain way. She does all those things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Discipline and structure. She now, at 24 years old, she still lives at the house or whatever. She has the freedom to, she just showed me the other day. She came in there, showed me the paper. She was like, what do I do with this? It was a title for her car because she paid her car off, you know.
Mm.
Now that might not seem like much to folks, but to be
Mhm.
24, to have zero debt,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
be
is a
sitting
lot.
on
That
That
is
means
a
a
lot.
lot.
sitting on
Yeah.
a multitude of cash and to have the
Mhm.
freedom to, I want to get into real estate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
have the capital to do so.
The
Yeah.
discipline, man.
You have
Exactly.
the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it all connects, man.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I think it was crazy because I was watching this. Speaking of Instagram, I was watching a reel that was talking about generational wealth and how we've been kind of like we got it very like limited in terms of when people talk about generational wealth. It's only from a monetary standpoint, and then it's not talking about knowledge, philosophies, teachings. You know what I'm saying? And I think what you're literally describing here is you didn't pass down a bunch of money,
Mhm.
right? You passed down a bunch of wisdom and knowledge and teachings and guidance. that
Yeah.
will turn into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it just popped in my head because I'm like, the conversation around generational wealth needs to be more vast and like diverse in terms of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
I'm an advocate for generational wealth being focused. Then I look at the people who passed down the generational wealth, and we're talking about dynasties.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about these families that
Mm-hmm.
have been wealthy for generations. It's not because they have the money. It's because they taught the kids how to manage that money.
Yep.
Exactly.
We seen the people who just passed down money.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 2 generations, they broke. It's
Yep.
done. That's
Yeah.
not
Gone.
generational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
can end at any moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Jameel, man, first of all, bro, I just want to say thank you for just
Oh, yeah.
being here, bro.
We had to end already?
Oh, we're close to wrapping up.
Yeah.
We're close to wrapping up. But nah, man, appreciate you because I think a lot of people can. I mean, every episode we have, there's always. We hope that there's always something that people can take from it, you know. And I'm almost certain this episode is one of those. But before we do get you out of here, first of all, where can people go to support you if you do want them to come check you guys out? Maybe come check out the barbershop or any other things you got going on.
Yeah. They can come to J Styles Barbershop. We're at 3847 Rainier Avenue South,
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, Washington, 98118 in the Columbia City, Rainier Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's J Styles Barbershop. We got that. I do some. We got. I'm the current imam at the Al Islam Center Masjid.
Okay.
We have we're right now. We don't have a building, but we are out of the Limbs bookstore. It's right in Columbia City again.
Okay.
Right across from the Esquire.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have our Jumas on Friday at 1:30.
Okay.
I do some peer counseling, if you will, peer support.
Mm-hmm.
Great organization that has given me an opportunity to extend my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Northwest Credible Messengers.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do some. We getting ready to transition now, where we'll have more, be able to extend our hand even more.
Okay.
And give more help with that. So, you can, if there's anybody who needs some support
Mm-hmm.
in any aspect, we really didn't touch on mental health, but that's a big deal too.
Yeah.
So that's really what it's centered around: trauma, mental health,
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah, help out with that. Also, Shabazz LLC, which is the umbrella company. And another thing we do is we consult,
Mm-hmm.
community relations
Okay.
consultant. We help people with making whatever connections they need.
Mm-hmm.
Help people grow their business. We help people, like when I came in here, I was putting together a little something for you guys too, because I'm seeing what you guys are doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I work with right now we partner with another media group that they have space,
Yep.
but they do all things media, photography and videography and podcasts. They do it all.
Nice.
So, but anyways, yeah. So we got just contact me really.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Reach out.
Yes,
And
sir.
I need to what I need though. What I need
Mm-hmm.
is I need some social media presence. 'Cause
Mm.
I'm me personally, I'm just not that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. And let me say this really quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention, because earlier I mentioned I got a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people share that same sentiment.
Yeah.
And one of the things that keeps me going is when I study the history of those that came before us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just Jackie Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
right? Jackie
Yeah.
Robinson, we know he's known for baseball.
Yep.
Well, Jackie Robinson, if you study Jackie Robinson in college he could have went pro in about 4 or 5 different sports.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
He was playing lacrosse, he was track and field, he
Wow.
was football, basketball,
Yeah.
he was doing everything. When we talk about these inventors, we so and so invented this. George Washington Carver, he's responsible for, they say peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's the smallest of his inventions.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's responsible for just about everything that has to do with the soybean.
Yeah.
That's real.
So the point I'm making is that with the the stronghold of slavery and the oppressive nature and the laws that were in place, it was the people right here on American soil that were inventing. They were occupied with changing the world, and they had 10 or 15 different things that they were doing
Yep.
to help build a society. So me having my little 2 or 3 jobs, that ain't that. What is that? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on, but that's in my DNA.
I love that.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love that.
Yeah.
so I want to
True.
encourage people.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Whatever it is, if it's making an impact,
Yeah.
keep it going, and you do have the thing. And lastly, you mentioned it earlier. You started with this. I'm gonna end with this.
Come on.
I got some clients that are in the medical field,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a saying in the medical world that if they could put the perfect medicine in a pill, it would be sleep.
Mm.
If they could put the perfect medicine in a pill, it would be sleep. Sleep is connected to everything you can imagine. Weight loss, brain,
Yeah.
cognitive, everything you can
Yeah.
imagine. Sleep is, without sleep, you just can't function in life.
Mhm.
That's real.
So get it for free. That's God's medicine that he gave
Yeah.
us.
That's real.
Yep.
And he gave it to you for free. You just have to make the choice if you want to, how much of a dose you want to take. So that 2 and 3 hours of sleep, talking about I'm trying to get out here and get it, that's not it.
Mm.
Yep.
Get that 7 to 9 hours like you're supposed to,
That's real.
so that you can be prepped and primed and ready to go.
That's
And
real.
if that means you got to skip a couple Netflix shows at night, then that's what it's got to be.
Yep.
That's real.
We trying to work.
Word of the
Yep.
day.
We trying to work.
Yep.
That's the word.
Yes,
and I
sir.
need to hear that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a nap right after
Need
this.
to-
dog.
Yeah.
For real.
Nah, Jameel. So, but we do, before we do get you out here, we ask every guest this question. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up, and why?
One word that keeps me on the up and up. That's a good one. One word that keeps me on the up and up. It is, I'm gonna say wealth.
Why? Well,
Well, from the aspect that you were speaking, mental, physical, and spiritual wealth.
Yep.
Mental, physical, and spiritual wealth.
Yep.
That keeps me on the up and up.
Mm.
Because that's a driving motivation to, because wealth is something that you have to continuously try to obtain. But I also can say perfection. And they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You're striving for perfection. You're striving to continue to practice so that you can be perfect, so that you can take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you.
that's real.
Yes, sir.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna change it out from wealth to perfection.
Mm.
I think perfection is a more broader and is a greater word.
Gotcha. I love
Yeah.
that.
Striving for
Yeah.
Perfection, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, first of all, like I said, thank you for being here,
Yeah. Thank
joining
you.
us. And yeah, man, we just wish you much success, bro, with everything you got going, moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know you got support with us here at the Up and Up always.
Yeah. Always.
Yes, sir, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
With that, go ahead.
I think what I was gonna say. I think this is episode 1 of.
Yeah.
Episode 1 of.
Yeah.
We it seemed like we gotta do another one.
Oh yeah. No, for sure, for sure.
A lot of
We might
stuff.
have to come do something at your spot.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
Because I think we can pick a topic.
Yeah.
And just delve into that topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
But
a
no.
start. It's just
Yeah,
a
it's a
start
start.
of what we can do.
Yeah, you brothers keep it going though. Whatever you do,
Oh,
you
yeah.
keep it going. You keep it
For
going.
sure.
And I'm gonna say this when we're on air right here. This is the first time I'm gonna announce that we got the life story of Jameel Shabazz.
Yeah.
This is the start right here.
Yes, sir.
I'm coming out with a book
Mm.
about my life. Yeah, because we only touched on
Yeah.
about 1%.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of details and nuances in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's major.
Definitely.
But I appreciate the opportunity letting me express myself. I really don't. I don't get it. I'm in the barbershop talking a lot. I don't get a chance to express myself like this. When the center is just me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also do public speaking. I forgot about that too. I wanted to throw that
I
out
could
there.
tell.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Nah,
Yeah,
man. Thank you
definitely
again,
tap
bro. Again, for those of you, please reach out, support, get connected.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in. With that being said, man, safe to say, Jameel Shabazz is officially a member of the Up and Up.
Yes, sir, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
To continue supporting the podcast and the entire UpNUp movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us at _ the UpNUp on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the UpNUp has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one.
Keep it on the Up and Up.